Tons of stuff going on in the fish room. You want to hang on and check it all out. Stay tuned.
I'm a fish nerd, a fish nerd, a fish nerd, a fish nerd.
Hey, what's going on, guys? This is Jason with Jadren Aquatics. Thanks for joining me again. So today we are in the fish room. We've got a lot going on. There's a bunch of stuff to update you guys on. A lot of new people just joined the channel. Thank each and every one of you guys for coming over from Rob from Flip Aquatics as he did a walkthrough on my fish room. Absolutely awesome video, Rob. I really appreciate you taking the time to do that. So since we have so many new people, let me tell you a little bit of why I have this big fish room. So it's always kind of been a dream of mine to have a fish room since I was younger. But I've also always been addicted to having pets and addicted to breeding pets. So I've had a lot of different things. And when I say pets, I typically mean something smaller like hamster or smaller. I love dogs. My dog is my baby, but I have no desire whatsoever to breed those. So, but here's my problem. My problem is burnout. Every time I get involved in a hobby, I go 180 miles an hour. I throw all this money at this hobby, love it, and then I burn out. And part of the reason I realize that I burn out is because I don't ever really feel a part of a community. So I decided when I started this fish room, which has been just about 2 years last month, I decided I'm not only gonna start the fish room, but I'm gonna start a YouTube channel. That way I can feel a part of a community at the same time. So after 2 years now of the fish room, I love it as much now and even more than I did before. And it has so much to do with you guys. I really appreciate each and every one of you guys. Those of you guys who comment on my videos and ask me questions and give me helpful hints. You guys are awesome. You made me feel so welcome and again, so much a part of a community that's what's kept me holding on. So that's just a little bit of the backstory. You guys go back and watch some of my older videos. You can see the long drawn out version. Those videos are absolutely horrible, but 240 something videos later, I think I'm getting a little bit better. Okay, so one of the things that Rob asked me, one of the things that he would ask people is if you could give somebody advice that's about to get into fish keeping or a fish room, what would you tell them? Well, I didn't really have an answer, and I've thought it through before, and I wasn't completely sure. I kind of had some common answers, but I have the right answer now. And that is, don't get so caught up in the projects that you're doing that you can't enjoy your fish. Because that's exactly where I am right now. I'm so gung-ho with building more shells, putting up more tanks, that I've created a monster of a problem and being absolutely overwhelmed with too many things to do and not enough time to just sit and look at my tanks and watch my fish and really see how they're doing. So I've got to slow down on the building and the expanding and stop changing things up, because that's been one of my biggest problems. So let's go ahead and let's go around and I'll show you a few of the tanks and I'll show you a few of the things that are going on and you guys can see what the heck is going on. Okay, so let's start at this tank first. This is the 40-gallon breeder that I have. This is my grow out tank for my mystery snails. And if you guys have seen this tank before, you'll see that it's a lot different than it's looked before, as there's no substrate anymore, there's no wood, and there's no other fish. It's just all snails. And the reason for that is I found leeches in the tank. Now these aren't the normal leeches like you see that attach to people and suck on blood. These are snail leeches. These are leeches that get up in a snail and begin to eat the snail from the inside out. They don't reproduce terribly fast, and they're not really that big of a deal, but I decided I didn't want these things and I wanted to totally get rid of them. So I took this tank, tore it completely down, removed every single one of these snails, looked each one of them over, and I let this tank set fallow. I put new sponges in it, and so it's basically a brand new tank in there now, because I wanted to get rid of the leeches. And let me show you a quick video of a leech so you guys can see what a leech looks like. So if you're ever curious if you have a leech or not, because sometimes they kind of look like planaria, you look at the way they move. See how these things kind of inch along like an inchworm? That's what a leech looks like. Now this is a snail leech. This isn't the type of leeches that suck blood. You can put him on you and he won't bother you. He just eats snails. Okay, so this tank is back up, doing great. As you can see, this thing is loaded with mystery snails. So if you guys are ever interested, I did a video on this. I'll link that above on how you can make a lot of money selling mystery snails. In this tank right here, if you guys can see, she's guarding it right now. These electric blue rams have laid eggs. And it's funny because there's 6 electric blue rams that are in here, and within a week of me putting them in there, 2 sets of these guys spawned at the exact same time. So some of them had eggs over here, and then some of them had eggs over here, but all of them were eventually eaten. This betta that's in here, he's got to go. Not sure where I'm putting him at yet, but he just annoys these blue rams to death. But he's funny when he chases them because he's too slow. He can't even come close to catching up with them, so they really could care less about him. Okay, so let's move over. So we got some 20-gallon longs here. This top one right here, this one has super reds in it. As you can see back on the back wall there, and one up here in front, the super reds have spawned. So there's quite a few fry in here right now, and this is another example of where I wasn't watching a tank very well, and I had no idea there were even eggs in here. So luckily they've survived up to this far, so I'm feeding them like crazy to fatten these guys up. All right, so now let's look at this section right here. Okay, so before this had 36 10-gallon tanks on it. 18 on each side. So what my plan again was to do was to take out all of the 10s on this side, on the right side, and replace them with these 40-gallon breeders. So we got a 40-gallon breeder here, and we're going to put a 40-gallon breeder here, 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 and here. And again, this stuff was all set up, and I kind of wish I'd have just left well enough alone, but I'm too far into it now. So that's where we're at on that. So I've got all these tanks that were up here moved. I've got some pea puffers that I'm going to trade back in because I don't really care for them anymore, so I got to get rid of those. These are still in quarantine. This is the tank that I moved the mystery snails into. This is all the gravel that was in the mystery snails. Oh, you can see there's a leech right there as we speak. So this was all the gravel that was in there, so I put the gravel in here and I put some food. That way I can pull out any snails that are still left in here. And if any of you guys know what the heck these things are, they look kind of like giant Daphnia. They look kind of like fleas. There's one right there kind of swimming around. If anybody knows what the heck those things are, because I don't have a clue. I don't know if it's some type of coapod or what the heck it actually is. Okay, and so these tanks over here, I had 4 or 5 of these. These were set up for our Caridina shrimp, but I discovered Hydra in them. But again, I was planning on moving these tanks anyway, so I went ahead and broke them down, but I went ahead and I've treated both of these with fenbendazole. That way I don't have to worry about those being in there anymore, so that way I can reuse the moss and the cholla wood and everything else is in there. So those are ready to take down now. I just haven't messed with it yet. Now on this side is the other 18 10-gallon tanks. All of these are going to be a shrimp tank. So each one of them is set up, but some of them need to move. I can't remember what the heck is in each one of these because some of them only have a couple of fish. I'm sorry, only have a couple of shrimp. These are some black Caridinas that I've been removing from the other tank. I'm trying to get my blacks back going again. This one is ready for something. I don't know what I'm putting in it. These are some Guppies that I'm going to be moving to the rack you'll see in a minute. These are all orange pumpkin Neos. This, I don't know, I think this is maybe some red King Kongs in here. These are my crystal reds. These are the 24 karat gold Guppies. These are also ones that I'm going to move. These are some guppies. These are some Dumbo ear dragons. Those I'm actually I'm gonna move to this other rack that I'm putting up. These are some other ones that I'll be moving. This one's got a bunch of algae on it that needs to be clean. I'll be moving those. All three of those are guppies. I need to move those. Well, actually, those are some tiger endlers in there. Down here, these are red bolts that are in here. These are red pintos. These are all three of these are Caridinas, and these are blue pintos that are in this tank. Okay, so as we walk around the corner here, you will see a new piece of furniture here. This is the stand that I just built. This thing will hold 12 20-gallon longs. It's kind of hard to get in here and get a good picture of it, but you can see that I put about a 4-inch gap between them, and you can see that's where all the plumbing is. I'm going to do more of an extensive video. People are asking me to show exactly how I'm going to plumb this thing up. I'm almost done with it because I've already got one tank that is fully set up here. Get you guys another shot from it from this side. I've still got to get my electrical fixed. I'm having a friend that's going to come out and run me another plug because I can't really put lights on here right now because both the breakers that I have out here are full. These are all my Neo tanks, except for one. I've got tangerine tigers down here in the end. We won't spend a lot of time. I've got a ton of videos you guys can look to see more extensively what's in these. Fantasy blues. Here's some cherry shrimp. Guys are just super red. These are some lower end cherry shrimp. Okay, so we move over here, and this is the stand that I built a few months ago. This one holds 6 20-gallon longs and 3 29 gallons. As you can see, I don't have full lighting on these, the same electrical issues. I've got endlers and guppies and different types of Plecos and stuff in these bottom ones. And then the 29s that are up here, I've got one more that I still need to drill and put up here. These are all breeding pairs. Well, at least I thought they were. These are the zebra angelfish, and I thought I found the male and female because I have 5 or 6 of them, but these guys, they were sparring and stuff and really acting like they were going to be mated pairs, but apparently they're not because they've been in here a few weeks and they've done absolutely nothing. But the other 2 that I left in the other tank, they laid eggs the other day. So I'm gonna take these guys and I'm gonna trade them in at the fish store because I really don't have room for them. Yeah, I know they're beautiful. And then move the other 2 guys that are in here. And then in this tank are my platinum angels. And as you can see today, they just laid a whole bunch of eggs. These guys have laid eggs probably 6 or 7 times. They are still learning, still trying to figure this out. He doesn't seem to do the greatest job at fertilizing them. There's always quite a few that don't seem to be fertilized. And then usually after the 3rd or 4th day, they tend to end up eating them. Well, I want these guys to raise them themselves. I don't want to pull them out, at least not yet. I want to give them a few more chances. I've heard some people say that it can take angelfish up to 30 times to finally figure it out. Well, I'm patient, so I'm going to continue to let these guys try. So as you can see, I got a lot of things going on in here, and you don't really realize it. When you start deciding that you want to start putting up more tanks, it's all exciting to think, man, new tanks, new fish, but you have to first build the stand, then you have to buy the tanks, then you have to drill the tanks, then you have to plumb the tanks, then you have to set up the auto drip system in them, and then you have to cut and put together the tops to them. Get lights, got to get the electrical for the lights, you got to get the sponges, you got to get the air to them. There is a whole lot that goes into it that takes hours upon hours upon hours before you can ever get fish in, and sometimes I forget that. I just think I want more tanks. So that's how it quickly gets overwhelming, and that's why I've got to slow down on the projects and enjoy the fish. Thank you for each and every one of you guys for hanging out with me this whole time. I really appreciate each and every one of you. You guys got any comments, be sure and leave them down below. Love to hear from you guys. So thanks again, guys, and God bless.